Hello everybody.
Hello, happy Saturday. Hope you're all well. Thank you for joining us again at Welsh Christopher Robin. As we said,
Robin has had a haircut.
I have had my haircut. I've gone for a centre parting. I don't know if you can all see.
Big chop.
Yes, at the end of last week's vlog, we said we would do, not necessarily a weekend vlog, more of our year in lockdown. A, because of content, but B, also for us, isn't it? So we've got a record of, 20 years time, kind of what we went through and how it was and what our thoughts were, and so they're fresh in our minds. We have made some notes, if we do reference below, just so we don't forget. So, and it is a year since we went into lockdown. And it is now officially a year since I last went to work. So I got furloughed officially on the 1st of April 2020. So I have now officially done a whole year on furlough. Have not done a single day's work, apart from I did some help with some redundancy stuff for work. But yeah, no, that is it. I've done a whole year. But we'll come to that bit. So I made some notes about when I sort of first started to hear about COVID. I don't know if you...
I didn't make any notes on that.
You didn't make any notes on that. But I can remember it, I think, because I do a lot of travelling, a lot of driving. With my job, and I do like a bit of a listen to Jeremy Vine on Radio 2, 12 till 2, and he started to talk about, obviously, coronavirus. I can't even know what it was called when it was first. Was it coronavirus or COVID or whatever it was?
Yeah, it put letters and numbers at the beginning.
Yeah, in Wuhan, in China, and kind of what it was and all the rest of it and stuff. Then it moved on to cruise ships, and I want to say it was like cruise ships stuck in like California and stuff, and people were on them, and he had like people calling in from the cruise ships and how they had to quarantine and all that type of stuff. So I think for me, that's when I first started to pick up on it from a distance then, rather than it sort of hitting. And then I think it was when it hit Italy, wasn't it? That's when it really
I remember where I was working at that time, there were two ladies working in the office who were Spanish. So there's a lot of things coming through those guys as we go blurry, sort of back home, and because it was obviously hitting sort of Italy, Spain first, and then sort of travelling up. So it was like UK we're okay, and blah blah blah, and we started getting a few press conferences and stuff like that, but we're okay, didn't we? A year on later, we know what happened. But yeah, my first inkling of sort of getting closer, I suppose, to home, because I had people that were getting affected by it, or parents and stuff like that, in sort of Madrid and things like that. So that was my first where it got a little bit closer to home through work colleagues. Yeah, and then I, because I'm in sales, so I was entertaining clients. I was taking clients to Cheltenham, which, as we all now famously know, was the week before we went into lockdown. And whatever your political views are on whatever that is on Cheltenham is, I took clients and stuff. But I can remember ringing the week before, 4 days before, 3 days before, 2 days. Is this actually going to happen? And they were adamant. It was definitely, and it did happen. We took 10 clients to Cheltenham, did hospitality, and the crowds were as they were per normal. I can't remember how many they have through on a day, but it's like 300,000 people? No. Yeah, no, 300,000, I think, over the course. Over the course,
so maybe like 100,000 people a day. So it was rammed, and that's crazy now to think that was only like 7 days before it went into lockdown. And then from a family perspective, my dad did his like world tour the Sunday before we locked down on the Monday.
The morbid tour of South Wales.
South Wales. I keep going in and out of focus, I do apologise. But yeah, he kind of wanted to, and it's weird now to think about it, but he wanted to, because my brother and my sister live in the same town as my dad in Aberdeen, but my older brother and I don't. Obviously, we live in Monmouthshire, and my older brother lives in Cardiff. So he wanted to get down to kind of see us before, because he felt like we were going to go into lockdown. And he has, he's older, they're not old, they're mid-60s, but anyway, he went into a panic, thought he was going to catch COVID and all the rest of it, and didn't. He hasn't,
I think that just shows the effect, even in those early stages.
Yeah, of what people were worried about.
Seeing your dad's the very same person. But the effect, even at that early stage, it was having on people's thoughts and the unknown and things like that, at that really early stage as well. So.
Yeah, so it was, wasn't it? So yes, we we both work in hotels, so I'm sure unless you've been hiding under a rock for 12 months, we'll know that hotels and hospitality has been massively hit and sort of, you know, annihilated. I think unless you work in theatres and cinemas, it doesn't get much worse in terms of doors shutting. We're certainly not taking away from NHS and all that type of stuff. That's not
full hospitality piece, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, just absolutely decimated. So yeah, it's just been such a weird year for work, hasn't it? It's, you know, doors open, doors closed. We both work in hotels in England, which again is completely confusing because you've got rules over this side of the bridge for where we live, and then you've got different rules over there, isn't there? But
yeah, it's hard to track of. I mean, I was actually moving jobs in March, April last year. So I'd actually, I was working my notice at my current job. And then I was in work one day and I got a phone call from the job I was moving into to say that they'd retracted the offer of the job role because of what was happening and the shutdown and everything like that.
But the weird thing was, you hadn't even applied for that job, had you?
No.
They approached you. He was headhunted. And they got...
A little bit frustrated, so so I did that, and then I was in a position of, okay, what can I do here? And spoke to the employers with at the time whether there's any possibility of rolling me through, and you start getting the furlough piece started to come in and stuff like that. And unfortunately, they made a decision that they didn't do that.
Had you ever heard of furlough before this happened?
No one had heard of furlough before that.
Furlough and unprecedented are two words I've never heard used so much.
People would have spelt it F-U-R-L-O-W as well, wouldn't they?
Furlough.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, I sort of worked my notice and hotels. So I worked to the end of, I think it's the last days in March, wasn't it? I think.
No, it was longer than that.
No. But then I was off because I worked from home. I was on gardening leave. I was in a furlough for the last 4 weeks. Yeah. Of my notice when the hotels closed, but yeah, so that was quite a strange one for me, and I think probably for a good couple of months, because of everything going on, I started joining Facebook forums and just quickly realised there was this huge gap. People know that have just left in this limbo of dates for moving into new jobs and stuff like that. So so I was left with sort of no support on my salary or anything like that.
No, I mean, we tried is it Universal Credit to see if we could get anything, but because of our household income still, they said you're not getting a single penny, not a penny, and the whole Chris's whole wage is gone. So
so it's difficult, and then you're trying to find something where there's no jobs, and actually mass redundancies started to happen sort of probably in April, May time, the first round of redundancies, and within our industry, second load probably in September, October, or August time, maybe September, October as well. My sort of, I then went to work for Amazon, which many other people did, and actually I found that to be the good thing with that. I was back in work and I was back in seeing people, and the obvious piece for me was Robin was at home on furlough, so we've pretty much seen every angle.
Back in May and June,
we've seen every angle of this. So for me, going out to work in a COVID safe environment, in Amazon warehouses and picking and things like that, alongside every job you can think of.
Yeah. Didn't you have dentists?
In the country, there was dentists, hygienists, there was lots of taxi drivers that had turned to going in there, just people that had their own businesses that had to shut down for whatever reason, needed a wage. Again, self-employed had little support at the beginning. That's been rectified to a certain extent. Company directors as well and things like that. So so that was a different one. But I found that quite a uplifting piece, going to work for Amazon. I enjoyed it.
It was hard to start with, wasn't it? To take yourself
physically hard.
Physically hard, but I also think as well, you'd gone from what was going to be a really great job that was then just taken away, and then you find yourself at something like Amazon. We're only talking about us and our experience. So
it's happened to many other people. And
that was really hard, I think, wasn't it? At that point, I think for you.
Yeah, really difficult mentally, and so I think it did take me a good couple of months and probably 2-3 weeks of doing that job. Before I sort of got into a routine there, got into a routine of what we were doing at home as well, trying to fill time and bits and pieces like everyone did, trying to make some home improvements with what we could or couldn't do and stuff like that, and try and use the time effectively, because there was a lot of time on people's hands and nowhere to go at the end of the day. So it was yeah, sort of challenging times really, and yeah, that sort of went for me sort of on for I think
How long?
for 3 months.
August, wasn't it? You finished.
Yeah, so about 3 months. It was sort of June.
Maybe it was a little bit more. Was it like middle of May? 3.5 months.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, it was June to the third week of August. So yes, that sort of took me into.
It was
August.
the whole summer, wasn't it? Basically.
Yeah, it was a nice summer as well.
It was a lovely
Hot and
summer.
sweaty, working in an Amazon warehouse.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But then you found your current job.
Yeah. So yeah, I did, actually Robin saw it on LinkedIn.
I did.
And applied, had some interviews, and started on the 1st of September.
Yeah.
In a hotel. That was the first day they were reopening. Did that for 2 months, and then we closed again. But this time, my sort of the role and the way the hotel is, I continued to work with a closed hotel. Slightly open for certain reasons, and then looking to, as everything else, open in the next few months, sort of thing. So, so that's where I am now, work-wise, really. And you're still on furlough. So yeah, so that's sort of that is work, and I think that the piece around, I've seen Robin's struggle.
Yeah.
With furlough.
I've worked since I came out of uni, and I think I wasn't, just to give you a bit of background, I think, because otherwise I'll sound like a right Fruit Loop, but I wasn't very academic in school. I got like 4 GCSEs and stuff, and not that some people wrote me off, but I think they're kind of like, you're not going to necessarily make anything of yourself. So I've worked really hard to get my career. I've obviously got 2 kids, and I was chatting to one of my bosses about it with hotels and hospitality. And I think if you're going to go into hotels, it's a lifestyle choice. It's not 9 to 5. Now, I don't work operationally, I work in sales. And whatever area of hotels you're in, it's a lifestyle choice. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. It never switches off. So even when I had the kids, and as some of you will know, Liam was prem, so that was a difficult sort of process. I still only had 9 months off with him, so I've never had this long out of work. And you know, it's not like a maternity leave where you go and meet other people and, you know, all the rest of it. And I know there are some people out there who are going on furlough, you've had a year on holiday. I can assure you it's not a holiday at all. And I've really struggled. I felt like I really lost who I was through some of it. And as Chris says, you know, he went out to work and to Amazon and spoke to people, and I would come back and I literally wouldn't take breath. I'd talk at him for an hour and he'd be like, Jesus Christ. Or I would concoct the end of the world. He would leave at whatever, if he was doing an early, it was like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and he'd come back by 2, and yeah, pretty much we were all trying to like hiding in a nuclear bunker because I'd concocted the end of the world in my head, just because of that's
I think
where my mental state was.
Yeah, I think mental state, free time, and I think social media, I do believe, has a big part to play on this.
And the news, horrendous.
I mean, I think we're probably saying to everybody that you'd always watch, you know, the news things at 5 o'clock every day, the daily
briefings. Yeah, we stopped watching those quite early.
But it's quite early. We've made the conscious decision to go, no, we won't do that, and actually, we don't watch the news.
No.
We found certain, I suppose, professionals on social media, on Twitter
and things. So very much consultants. You picked up on that Devi, I forget her surname, on Twitter very, very quickly, and stuff. And just rather than you know, listening to the news and stuff like that, we haven't, because it just played havoc with my head. So instead we follow what the scientists say, and that's what we've done, isn't it, the whole way through, really, because it was
First and foremost,
to watch.
I think we followed the scientists. We followed whether we believe right or wrong with what the advice has come up and what you can and can't do.
We have followed. And
like I say, I work currently now. I'm Wales for home and I'm England for work.
Yeah.
And they're 2 very different things, and I get confused as how on what's happening on what day and stuff like that. And actually, I focus more on England.
Yeah.
For work, and I'll ask Robin what's the changes that have just happened. You know, I'm driving home or something like that.
He comes across the bridge.
Yeah, exactly. And things like that. But for the piece around, we made a conscious decision that we do everything to the letter of what we were being told to do.
Yeah.
It's been a bit of a struggle seeing other people not do that, and it's been and continue not to do that as well.
Because I think we know that because our industry has just been so hard hit that they're not going to let hotels and stuff open until this drops, or until it did drop. And for us, it was just like, why are you doing this? You know, and never mind all the, you know, got first and foremost the NHS and stuff like that, but our industries won't open until everybody followed the rules. So that for us was always just like, I don't think they understand. And I think there's a massive piece, and like we say, everyone's been touched in a different way. We've fortunately, there's only one family member of both our families complete that have had it, and actually on top of that, I don't know of. Oh, actually, we know one other family. I think. Maybe
but I hardly any count on one hand that have had COVID.
Had it and stuff,
so we follow the rules because, number one, to protect family as
protect the 4, 6, whatever combination is in the house.
Yeah, and those external as well to ensure that.
Yeah, definitely, because it has been so hard. You know, as I said, I was nominated as the management rep. I've been through redundancy before, so my company went through redundancies, and so I got nominated as the management rep to represent the managers. I don't know why I said that so many times. Back in September, October time. So yeah, we unfortunately did quite a few redundancies. That was a horrible process to go through, because where before it was a company restructure I'd done, and you know, in normal times people go out and get other jobs and stuff. To make people redundant in this current climate, that's horrible. It was really, it was soul destroying to watch people.
But businesses have, as the
have to do what to survive, definitely. So I was due to go back on the 1st of November because the redundancies had happened. Due to go back on the 1st of November, which was a Monday, and that Sunday, Boris went...
Closed again.
We're closed again. So, yeah, so I nearly got back.
Yeah.
And then I didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm still here sat waiting, so we just don't know. We're all aiming for the 17th of May.
I mean, my hotel was going to open the 4th of January.
Yeah.
We made the decision. And then I was on calls on the 30th of December. Yeah, I think on 30th of December, when whatever that announcement was, and we pulled the plug on that as well. Yeah,
so I think we've all been just hanging and hanging and hanging. So
even the people that we speak to, family that have been working from home. One of you been working from home, 2 of you working from home, and I think the home working thing and the furlough piece. When we this is a really long video. When we talk about kids and stuff like that is another thing as well. So we've got like massive appreciation for people that have actually still kept their roles to this, but maybe working from home. But then the other things that come with that, if you've got kids at the same time. So
furlough has got a lot of negatives, but it's also got, I've been very fortunate in that way, and I'm really grateful because I have been able to be home for the kids. For Erin and Liam, to homeschool them and just kind of guide them through lockdown, really. It's certainly for Erin, I think she found by the end of lockdown 1, I can't remember what we're in now, she really sort of went into her shell a bit. They both, so Erin and Liam, when we went into lockdown in March 2020, had both just started, so Liam had just gone into reception, Erin had just gone into year 7. So they were really, both into new schools, new friendship groups, all that type of thing. And then 4 or 5 months into the year, they got taken away. So that I think was really hard. So for anything, I'm really grateful. You're never going to get that opportunity to spend that amount of time with your kids again.
No. Nor would you want to.
God, I love my kids, but Jesus Christ. A newfound admiration for teachers. My mum is a teacher, so I know how good teachers are, but the patience of saints and stuff, honestly. And just being able to be home for them, and if they are having down days, or let's have pajama days, let's not worry about school. I mean, we've both for Alex and Ollie and for him, we've still been quite strict in terms of our structures of the day, certainly when schooling's been happening, in terms of getting up, get dressed, have breakfast, you're ready to do your lessons at 9 o'clock. To give some structure to the week, isn't it? Because otherwise every day is a flipping weekend.
It's a free-for-all, and you've got that, and then I think it's more difficult for them when they do go back, which ours will do after Easter fully. England's been a little bit quicker, but you need that structure. I think they'll find it again. If they hadn't had that, they'll find it difficult again. So you just had the difficulties.
They were bored anyway, so if you take away the school bit elements of it, they're even more bored.
Yeah,
so
and to be fair, the schools...
They've been pretty good, I think.
They've been pretty good. They've evolved all the way through. So now this section here we just had, there's
January to March
loads more
so
live lessons and things like that, full days sometimes and things like that. So and it's difficult, and the schools are evolving as the process is evolving. What they could and couldn't do.
But no, I think they've both. We've been really lucky with the kids' schools. I think they've all been really, really good and stuff. And obviously for us, in terms of the kids, we are a blended family. I hate that phrase.
Don't know why you use it.
So that's had its own challenges in terms of, yes, there's 6 of us technically in this house, but then we've also got other sets of parents, which, I mean, we all decided when the first lockdown came, even though the government had said if you're in mixed families or whatever it's called, you can go back and forth to each parent from the word go. But I think that very first initial
nobody knew
lockdown, nobody knew what was going to happen, how quick it was going to spread. So I think we had the first 3 or 4 weeks to the way where we just, Erin and Liam locked down here, Alex and Ollie locked down at their mums and stuff, and then slowly we've sort of reintroduced sort of going back and forth. Some took longer than others to sort of blend back in and stuff like that with the kids and things. And that's presented its own challenges and stuff as well. All of a sudden, Erin and Liam had 4 weeks just with Chris and I because Chris was off. Then they, obviously can go back to their dads, and then Alex and Ollie coming back into Erin and Liam being here all the time. Yeah, it's hard isn't it? Trying to then, and obviously, you've got 6 people in a house, and we are very fortunate. We're very grateful. Our house is lovely. We've got a garden, got a newfound appreciation for where we live in terms of walks and parks and all that type of thing. But if you've got nowhere to go and nothing to do, trying to keep 4 kids entertained is quite the challenge at times, isn't it?
It is.
Migraine inducing at times. Anxiety inducing.
Because you were at a point where you weren't allowed out either. In the early stages of that. So that's really difficult. We were really fortunate when we were able to get out. We've got really great walks and loads of walks and things like that, and quiet walks around us, which God, if anybody in a city and flats and stuff like that, or doesn't have that, dear me, it's
that must be a whole nother level.
Yeah. So I think I always say about all this that everyone's got a story. This is our sort of story, sort of thing. Some people will be much more devastating for very obvious reasons. But I think everything's got its own challenges, and everyone's at different points in where they are and stuff like that. So.
And I think even for the kids, it's Erin will say to me, "We live in such quite American sometimes, such a nice neighbourhood, Mum," and you're like, "Yeah, I think the kids have got an appreciation now of." What a lovely area we live in. We've got lovely neighbours, and for VE Day, as everybody did, I think, sort of across the country, everybody kind of did like the afternoon tea parties, but outside, because I think the day was baking, wasn't it? It was really hot.
Yeah, really hot. So we just did everyone outside the front door.
And we've live in like a square, so like the 7, 8 houses that have all sat out and stuff and did things, and we ended up sort of doing it almost on a weekly basis for a run of like 5 or 6 weeks. We'd have a quiz,
social distance quiz outside the front door,
sort of games and stuff like that. It was lovely, and it really kind of bolstered everybody, I think, and the kids absolutely loved it, really loved it. So I think that has been, there are some benefits to lockdown and things, aren't there?
Definitely.
The camera's flashing.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's got a limit on why it does in one go. I'm not sure.
We'll see. So kids, that was quite tricky. I think for the kids, not being able to see friends certainly has affected them. Erin, very much in terms of her extracurricular stuff. Yeah. She, as you know from our blog, she's quite sporty, so she runs and she plays netball. Obviously, that hasn't happened. She's gone back to running, didn't she? Because that happened outside. Yeah. She did go back just before Christmas.
That stopped the starter, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think for her biggest thing was she was when this started, she was about to go into her final season of the under-13s, so she would have been the top age in that. And, you know, I think she could have, I believe she could have broken into like top 10 and stuff like that in Wales, but obviously it didn't happen. And this year now is her first season in the under-15s, and I think it'll be really hard for her because she's just, you know, she's worried about going back to training on Tuesday, which is great, but you know, in terms of fitness and technique, and I know it's the same for everybody, and certainly, you know, on the sort of forums and things like that, a lot of people are worried that we've lost a whole generation of athletes and, you know, any of it, because kids have lost their fitness. Have they lost their love of it? Are they too worried about going back and they can't then redo it? And, you know, I think for some people, you know, when you talk about weight loss, obviously I talk about weight loss quite a lot, people have put on weight, you know, through no fault of their own and stuff. And, you know, that's a whole difficult piece, isn't there? I think, you know, again, another benefit for me of being on furlough is I've been able to do this whole weight loss and walking and things like that. And that's been...
We were talking about that this morning, and the continuation of that back to work.
When I go back to work and how
you fit that into your lifestyle, because it's been a year and your lifestyle's changed. So,
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
neither of us drink. Not that we're huge drinkers anyway, sort of thing. But
no, I was what you'd class as your typical binge drinker. I'd go out and get absolutely, but not in the week.
Yeah, no, exactly. Not a school night. So neither of us drink anymore, and just things change. It's just how so.
I think so, definitely. Change. And then, have you missed anything off your list, my love?
my love, me. How's it going? No, you've got a few more on yours then.
Yeah, so I think Liam, summer lessons was one of the things that he missed out on, because he'd started, and obviously kind of leads then onto our holidays. God, we talk about all the time.
Which we're not going to go over here massively.
But yeah, I wanted him to be swimming when we went to Mallorca last summer in 2020. But obviously that didn't happen. So hopefully leisure centres will open soon.
Yeah, exactly. So and that'll come back quicker, things like that. And I think, you know, everybody's postponed holidays, and some people managed to get away September, October.
Last year, yeah.
September, October, when we had that 2 month of openness.
Well, we did, didn't we? We went down to Cornwall for a few days in August.
Yeah.
August, yeah.
Yeah, some of it was horrific, wasn't it? But
it was just as you had mandatory face masks were coming in and things, I think, wasn't it, and stuff, and there were still options. But it was nice to be able to get, I think, a change of 4 walls and stuff. So so holidays. I mean, you all know our holidays, in and out. But the other one obviously was the wedding. We were just watching some vlogs, weren't we? Live Las Vegas, and we were like, God, if it hadn't happened, we would have got married in Vegas last year. We'd have been married. No,
we were flying.
Was it 2020? Was it February this year? Yes. So we would have been married like a month coming ago. Up for 2 months.
Oh yeah, 2 months. Yes.
Yeah. But.
Not to be.
Another thing that didn't happen. And
but that happened this year.
Yeah, if you could have a word to say about lockdown? I know this is a
dear me, I didn't prep for this one.
What would it be if you had to describe lockdown in one word?
Grateful.
Pardon?
Grateful.
Do you know what? That's exactly the word I was going to use.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't really practice this.
We haven't.
Just asked me now. I think ourselves, the children.
Yeah.
I'm more grateful for the things you work for, the time you get. I'm huge for a work-life balance.
Yeah.
Which, as Robin said earlier, is no good in hospitality whatsoever. But I am, and I preach that to my team as well. I kick them out the door, because you don't get a lot of time, and you need to make that time quality. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think grateful.
Don't. Was it live to work to live? Isn't it? It's,
definitely. I think so.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, just us talking about holidays quite a lot and giving us that to look forward to, and kind of, and maybe just refocused where our priorities are and stuff, and what is important. But yeah, definitely. I mean, we're grateful that none of our family. Yeah. It was only my younger brother had COVID.
Shout out to Owain. See if he's gone through 29 minutes of this video. I doubt it very, very much.
But yeah, he did, and that was really scary, because I remember the day that my mum texted, I think, to say the ambulance is coming, because he's really struggling to breathe, and he lives on his own. So he did it all on his own. And he'd already been in hospital for something else, which we think is where he caught it. So I can remember being sat here at the kitchen table, and I had to take myself off into the downstairs toilet, because I just had horrible visions of what was going to happen, and you know, I've seen people on ventilators. I don't want to see that ever again.
All good.
But you know, he fortunately, touch wood, he didn't have to go to hospital, and he was fine and stuff. So yeah, I just think, you know, it's
we've been. It's weird. You talk through that, and there's a lot of uhs and uhs, but we've been really lucky.
So we just have a newfound appreciation, don't we, for life and what we've got and how lucky we are. And yeah, you know, there has been some really low times, and there still is at the minute. You know, certainly for me, I don't make any bones about it. I find being furloughed really, really hard at the moment, especially where hotels are coming back, and all the talk now is about what you're going to do when you open on the 17th of May.
And you're not involved.
And I'm not involved in it. And I hate that because I'm a bit of a control freak. I like to know what's happening and what's going on.
I know, it's tricky.
But fingers crossed, you know, that I will be back. I'm very fortunate. I wasn't made redundant, obviously. Yeah. My company have been extremely good with furlough and things. So, yeah, so certainly, you know, we've been fortunate that money worries haven't, you know, you've got money worries, of course, but we've got through without anything major happening.
Could have been worse.
So yeah, so that's kind of our roundup, really, of
that's our year of COVID.
Yeah, of COVID, and lots and lots. I will stop playing with that. Lots and lots to look forward to now, haven't we?
Yeah.
And you know, it kind of lots of things to.
Memories for us, and I think thoughts for us is really important, and for the kids as well.
Yeah, to
because
go down and,
you know,
God, in 30, 40 years' time.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, this has to be a life event, doesn't it? And
hopefully, fingers crossed, it is. Hopefully, it is.
And,
you know, there's nothing else that
you know. But they can sit down and look at it and go, "Oh, look at Mum and Chris or Dad and Robin, and look what they were like."
Look what they're like. Right, we should leave it there.
So that's it. So thanks for sticking with us for nearly half an hour of our rambling on.
If you want any more of these half-an-hour chats,
comment down below.
And subscribe, hit the notification.
Yeah, please do. Give us a thumbs up. Comment down below. Please subscribe. We are back to normal weekend vlogging for the Easter weekend next Saturday.
Yes.
So yeah, follow us on Instagram. Yeah, and that's it.
See you later.
Hope you're all well, and we will catch up with you later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.